A Victorian woman just swallowed a live tapeworm to lose weight. A Greek philosopher is eating nothing but vegetables because he thinks animals have souls. And somewhere in the 1920s America, a man is chewing a single bite of food 100 times before swallowing. These aren't horror stories. They're actual diet trends that people followed throughout history. From ancient Greeks avoiding meat to save their souls, to 1930s women literally poisoning themselves with cigarettes for weight loss. Humans have tried some absolutely insane methods to control their bodies. But here's the terrifying part. Some of these diets were so dangerous, they killed people. And the craziest thing? Many of these revolutionary diet ideas keep coming back in new forms today. I'm diving deep into the most bizarre, dangerous, and downright weird diets people actually followed before 1950. We're talking about everything from ancient philosophers who thought beans had souls to Victorian ladies intentionally infecting themselves with parasites. Some of these will make you grateful for modern nutrition science. Others will make you wonder how our species survived this long. And a few might sound suspiciously familiar to trends you've seen on social media. Trust me, after researching dozens of historical sources and medical records, what I found will change how you think about every revolutionary diet that pops up today. Let's start in ancient Greece, around 500 BCE, with a guy named Pythagoras. Yeah, the triangle guy. But here's what they don't teach you in math class. Pythagoras created one of history's first fad diets. The Pythagorean diet was strictly vegetarian, but not for health reasons. Pythagoras believed animals had souls that could be reincarnated as humans. So eating meat, that was basically cannibalism with extra steps. His followers, called Pythagoreans, lived on honey, bread, vegetables, and absolutely no beans. Why no beans? Pythagoras thought beans contained human souls trying to escape the underworld. I'm not making this up. Ancient texts show his followers would literally starve rather than eat a bean. But wait, it gets weirder. Ancient Egyptians were eating what modern nutritionists would call a perfect whole-grain plant-based diet. Bread, beer, vegetables. Sounds healthy, right? Wrong. Mummy studies show they suffered from heart disease, diabetes, and dental problems. Turns out, even healthy diets can kill you if you don't understand nutrition. Fast forward to medieval times, and suddenly your diet wasn't just about health. It was about your eternal soul. The Catholic Church decided what you could eat and when. No meat on Fridays, no dairy during Lent. Break these rules? Straight to hell. But here's the twisted part. Some people took this way too far. Medieval monks created extreme fasting diets that lasted for weeks. They'd eat nothing but bread and water, believing starvation brought them closer to God. Monastery records show monks regularly collapse from malnutrition, but they called it divine ecstasy. And then there's geophagy, the practice of eating dirt. Yes, actual soil. Medieval peasants would mix clay into their food during famines, thinking it would fill their stomachs. Some cultures believed certain clays had magical properties. Spoiler alert, eating dirt doesn't cure anything except your appetite for living. The 1500s brought us Luigi Cornaro and his sober life diet. After doctors told him he'd die by 41, Cornaro restricted himself to exactly 12 ounces of food and 14 ounces of wine daily. That's about one modern meal spread across an entire day. The crazy part? It worked. Cornaro lived to 95, writing books about his diet until he died. His daily menu: a bit of bread, some meat, an egg yolk, and soup. That's it. For 50 years. He basically invented intermittent fasting 500 years before it became trendy. But Cornaro's success inspired some truly dangerous imitators. Wealthy Europeans began competing to see who could eat the least. Court records from the 1600s mention nobles collapsing at dinner parties from self-imposed starvation. Apparently, fainting from hunger was considered fashionable. The Victorian era gave us some of history's most horrifying diet trends. First up, Lord Byron's vinegar diet. The famous poet drenched everything in vinegar, smoked cigars to suppress appetite, and took magnesia to purge his system. By 1816, Byron was living on one thin slice of bread and tea for breakfast, with light vegetables for dinner. Byron's influence was massive. Artists and writers across Europe copied his extreme methods. Medical records from the 1820s show a spike in malnutrition-related deaths among young creative types. Byron himself died at 36, likely from the damage his diet caused. But Byron's diet looks tame compared to what came next: the tapeworm diet. Victorian women would intentionally swallow tapeworm eggs or segments, believing the parasite would eat their food for them. Advertisements promised easy weight loss without dietary changes. The reality? Tapeworms caused intestinal blockages, malnutrition, and often death. One London hospital recorded 47 tapeworm-related deaths in 1890 alone. But the ads kept running because desperate women kept kept buying. The 1830s brought us Sylvester Graham and his Graham diet. This Presbyterian minister believed spicy foods, meat, and alcohol caused unnatural appetites. Basically, anything that made life enjoyable was banned. Graham's followers ate only whole wheat bread and water. Graham boarding houses opened across America, serving the blandest food imaginable. Guests reported constant hunger, weakness, and depression. But Graham claimed this was spiritual purification. His diet was so extreme that angry butchers and bakers once attacked him during a lecture. Then came Fletcherism in the 1890s. Horace Fletcher, the great masticator, insisted people chew each bite 100 times until it became liquid. Even milk had to be chewed until it lost all taste. Fletcher claimed this would produce odorless, dry, pebble-like stools. Apparently his idea of perfect health. The chewing obsession spread worldwide. Dinner parties became silent affairs as guests spent hours masticating single bites. Medical journals reported cases of jaw exhaustion and malnutrition from people who couldn't finish meals before bedtime. The 1910s introduced calorie counting, thanks to Dr. Lulu Hunt Peters. Her book, Diet and Health with Key to the Calories, was so revolutionary it included pronunciation guides. Most people had never heard the word calorie. Peters described food as units of energy, 100 calories of bread, instead of a slice of bread. This scientific approach seemed logical, but it created an obsession with numbers that ignored nutrition entirely. People began eating 1,200 calories of candy instead of 1,500 calories of balanced meals. The 1920s brought us the most insane diet trend yet, the cigarette diet. Lucky Strike launched their Reach for a Lucky instead of a Sweet campaign in 1925, marketing cigarettes as appetite suppressants specifically to women. The results were staggering. Lucky Strike sales increased 300% in 1 year. The percentage of women smokers jumped from 6% to 16% by 1929. Advertisements showed slim, fashionable women choosing cigarettes over food. The message was clear: smoking equals skinny. Meanwhile, Hollywood promoted the 18-day diet, nothing but oranges, grapefruit, toast, and eggs for over 2 weeks. Actresses like Clara Bow popularized the flapper look, flat-chested, hipless, and dangerously thin. Young women across America starved themselves trying to achieve this impossible standard. The Great Depression brought the grapefruit diet. Eating a grapefruit before every meal supposedly burned fat. With money scarce, this seemed economical. But the diet combined grapefruit with severe calorie restriction, often under 800 calories daily. The 1930s also gave us the drinking man's diet. Unlimited meat and alcohol, but no carbs. Created by Robert Cameron, who claimed to lose 50 pounds while drinking 7 glasses of wine daily. The diet ignored the fact that alcohol contains calories and damages the liver. The 1940s introduced the Master Cleanse. Nothing but lemonade, salt water, and laxative tea for days or weeks. Promoted as detoxification, it was actually controlled starvation with a fancy name. Throughout the mid-1800s, the milk cure gained popularity. Patients consumed nothing but raw milk for weeks, believing it cured everything from diabetes to tuberculosis. Dr. Inozemtsev in Moscow documented over 1,000 cases, claiming miraculous results. American doctors jumped on the trend. Patients drank up to 10 quarts of milk daily. That's 5,000 calories of pure dairy. Many developed severe digestive problems, kidney stones, and nutritional deficiencies. But doctors kept prescribing it because some patients did lose weight, mainly from constant diarrhea. From ancient Greeks avoiding beans to save souls, to 1940s, Americans drinking nothing but lemonade, humans have always looked for shortcuts to health and beauty. The scary part? Most of these revolutionary ideas keep coming back. Intermittent fasting, detox cleanses, elimination diets. Sound familiar? We're still falling for the same promises, just with better marketing. The real lesson here isn't that our ancestors were stupid, it's that desperation makes people try dangerous things. And that desperation, it never goes away. But wait, you think these historical diets were crazy? You ain't seen nothing yet. The period after 1950 brought us even more insane trends. The cabbage soup diet, liquid protein fasts that killed people, and diet pills containing actual amphetamines. We're talking about FDA-approved speed, Hollywood's secret starvation methods, and the birth of the modern diet industry that's worth billions today. Make sure you subscribe and turn your notifications on so you won't miss part 2 later this week. How else are you going to discover how the post-war era turned dieting into a deadly obsession that makes Victorian tapeworm pills look reasonable?